So yeah, thank you for joining, and we'll get straight into it. So this evening we're discussing a topic that it's not one of those, I want to say, exciting topics if you think of cybersecurity. There's an endless number of things we could be discussing, and we do at certain times look at those things. But we always speak about people, process, and technology. And I think tonight we're looking at the people element, and a very important element. And yes, oh, sorry. And a very important element at that, because what often happens is when something does not directly impact us, very easily we start believing that it is not real. And I think when people start sharing their stories, obvious or simple things that we take for granted could be extremely inconsiderate towards other people, and that's what we want to do. So the objective of this webinar is really simple. It's to create awareness on those unknowns, the things we're not aware of, for us to internalize and to walk away here with one thing we could do differently going forward. Okay, I just want to make sure everyone is muted besides us. Okay, so we'll start off with a brief introduction. Deidre, maybe you can start.
Okay, good evening, everyone again. Okay, so I'm Deidre, surname is Marais, and I head up cybersecurity for the Western Cape government. Yeah, I've been in IT for, don't want to give my age away, but for more than 20 years, but specifically as a CISO for 14 years at the Western Cape government. So yeah, the journey is long and I have lots to share. So looking forward to that, to having the conversations.
Thank you so much, Deidre. Over to you, Sandika.
Thanks, Grant. Hi, everyone. I'm Sandika. I work at Multichoice as a senior manager for IT governance, risk, and compliance. But I'm a very busy woman, so I also sit on a couple of boards just to provide some strategic oversight and as a technology advisor. And I'm also a mom to two very, very energetic boys. I'd like to say that's how I keep my figure, but you know, it's not really keeping that well anymore. But that's me. Thanks, Grant.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Deidre and Sandika, for that introduction. So we'll get straight into the first question. So oftentimes on LinkedIn, you see people have this, let's say the tagline, CISO, senior manager. I've observed that some people say husband and father. And it led me to this question. When you introduce yourself, specifically in a professional setting, how do you introduce yourself, as the CISO of the Western Cape government or as a mother of two? And maybe we start with you, Sandika. You know, do you bring that into the conversation up front? If so, why or why not?
So I do. And I don't know why, to be honest. I always introduce myself as being a mom. And I didn't realize that people don't usually do it until it was called out in a group setting where a bunch of, you know, a number of women actually were introducing themselves in a very similar way. And the conversation started around, but why? Why do we do this? And I can't tell you why. I'd like to say it's maybe because it's something I'm proud of or it's part of me. But then, you know, there's men are also proud of their kids. So for me, I think sometimes I do it because it's just how I introduce myself. It's part of who I am, but it also gives insight into the, you know, to people who are talking to me, insight into me. And I suppose knowing some of the challenges I have or the life stage that I am in, and when we are engaging, we can engage in a lot more than just a professional setting. If we need to go down to a personal level, there's something to relate to.
No, thank you, Sandika. And I think later on, when we open the floor up to comments and questions from other delegates.
Some technical errors.
Apologies, there was an echo of sorts. So when we open it up later, it would be interesting to hear from other people on the call. How do they introduce themselves and what's the reason behind it? Oftentimes, I never introduce myself as a husband or father, but I find that it's coming up more and more in conversation. So you go to a conference and before you know it, you're speaking about your little ones or those things. It just, again, comes back to the fact that we are all human in many ways. Jerry, how about you?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think I kind of keep it professional. So if I introduce myself, I will, just keep it professional and not mention that I'm a wife and a mom and so on. But I must also mention that, like 2 months ago, I actually went with my daughter to a AI, it was a session. So it was a face-to-face session, and she was the one that booked it, and she paid for us, and off we went. I got there, and as you know, we usually do networking before the time, and suddenly, for the first time ever, my daughter just introduced me as, "This is my mommy." And I'm like, wow. I think I didn't know how to react. I didn't know whether, must I now say I'm actually the CISO of the Western Cape government, or must I remain mommy in this? It's an AI. AI is very topical now, and there was a lot of business people and stuff. So, throughout that session, I was like, what am I, how do I feel about this? Because I'm a proud mom, definitely. But I must say, so although I introduced myself in a professional capacity, because I am totally family orientated, usually my family, it comes up during conversations. Yeah, and because I'm very proud of my kids also now, that definitely comes up. But yes, that is just to put some context to that one. So I was like, I'm a mommy. It's the first time I'm like at a at a professional at the event that I'm introduced just as, this is my mommy, not even with a name. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing, Deidre. So I think now that we've broken the ice, let's get into it, right? So we often hear that there's a lot of challenges that females face in a corporate space, right, in a workplace. Now, from a place of experience, I want to say I'm fortunate, but maybe also I'm not fortunate, because as a result of it, I don't really understand the complexities of this. The places where I've worked in the past, right? So I've only ever worked at two places, the Foschini Group and in Engine now. I've never seen an outright attempt to make it difficult for women in the workplace. I've always observed that there's very few women in the team, but I've never seen women being treated badly. All right. So I don't have first-hand experience of this, or maybe I've seen it, but maybe I can't recognize it. So the first question is, I want you to give us examples of things that could offend or could be insensitive that we don't even realize. Some simple things that we do and we think is completely normal, but it's really not. And maybe for this one, Sandika, we start again with you. Share some real life experiences with us.
Okay, and that's so easy for me. I know you say you struggle to find the examples, but I think when you're in the situation, you're in the position, it's very different. One of the things that comes to mind to me is tasks that are assigned to women. So very often you will get someone that says, generally a leader that will say, I need something to look pretty. So they'll be like, Sandika, you make this look pretty. And I'm like, okay, me? What makes you think I can make this look pretty? Or, the one that needs to consolidate everything from information from everyone. It's generally assigned to the woman in the team to do. And I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is additional work. It's additional work that's added on to a person all the time. Whenever you need a presentation done, Sandika will do it. Whenever you need something that's looking pretty, you get a woman to do it. And that means, when do we actually get time to do the complex, meaningful work that we need to do, that we are actually assigned to do? So you've got everybody else in the team that are able to focus on their tasks, but the women are the ones that have to do those things. I mean, other things include organizing a farewell. If there's somebody's having, there's a baby shower, it's usually left to the women to do. And I understand that it may be playing towards someone's skills, but it's an unconscious thing that people are doing, that you keep adding this additional workload to someone that they, over and above what they're already doing. So that's something I think that all women face. And I think most, in particular, it actually probably faces the younger women, or when you are the younger one in the team. And if you'll allow me to give you another example, I want to tell you something that I think I only really experienced as a mother, and that is timing of meetings and events and things like that. Like I remember going back to work after COVID, I'm very anxious because in my current job at Multichoice, we would have our daily check-ins would be at 8:30 in the morning. And that seems like a reasonable time to most people, right? It's not so reasonable, well, for me in particular, because the earliest I can drop my kids off is at 7 o'clock in the morning at school when it opens. And I live, quite far from the office. So, just getting to the office takes another 1.5 hours to get there. And I was always quite anxious about, am I going to make it in time? So I'm already sacrificing having to take my kids to school at the earliest time possible. And I'm still worried about whether I'm going to make it in time for our check-ins, whether it's our team meetings or leadership meetings. They always start at 8:30. And I think that nobody really understood it because no one was in that position of being a mom of small kids. And I remember when I raised it, that's when people said they didn't understand that because nobody else was in that position. So I think it's about being a bit more, I guess, inclusive. I know we can't necessarily read people's minds or understand what is going on, in what circumstances they have, but that is something I think all parents face. So how do we make sure that we have events that when we talk about core business hours, we are flexible enough to allow parents to be able to drop their kids off and come to school without being stressed out about it. And even to consider times for like after school pickups. Yeah, thanks, Grant.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Before I go over to Deidre, maybe just give us some thought in the meantime, Sandika. So in terms of the insensitivity towards women, don't answer yet, but think about it. Is it only males, or do you find that you sometimes get this level of lack of understanding and compassion and sensitivity from women leaders as well? So I'll come back to you now on that. But Deidre, on your side, maybe share 2 or 3 examples that you face in the workplace that really isn't being inclusive and considerate of women.
Yeah. Okay, so Grant, part of our culture, in the office, and this was maybe pre-COVID, is that we would, go to each other's offices and we would brainstorm some things, put things on the whiteboard, and usually those sessions, go over an hour or two, and so we would break for a coffee. We do the coffee break. So everybody, and just remember also, I'm one of the few female in the management team. So in the small meetings that we have, pretty much maybe the only lady in the, in the discussion and so on. So we would then break for coffee. Everybody would go make their own coffee. But, after the meeting, what would most and often would happen is that they'd expect me to take the cups to the kitchen, and they're expecting it. So the one reasoning is, well, you must pass the kitchen to go to back to your office. That is usually the one thing. But it's also just, can't you just like clean up quickly? It's like, and it's also, I find it always so surprising because I can't believe that, that is the thinking. But, of course, I challenged it, and don't just accept it. So that's the one thing. The other one is, I think because I'm the CISO and, compliance is important, we need to get things done and like very soon. So, if I ask for something, it's usually time, there are timelines and due dates to it, and I'm persistent on, getting tasks done. So often I would get comments like what, you are nagging. It's So that is just the one thing that I also just do not, appreciate, because I think we're in a professional setting. It's not about nagging; it's actually about compliance. But then it would also go as far as saying like, "Oh, you just like my mom. You just like my sister. You just like my wife." So, and I mean, I hear that like time and time again. And yeah, so those are just two of the examples that I can think of. And I mean, all of that doesn't happen with the male colleagues, for example.
Say again, it doesn't happen,
It
or it's
does not.
mainly
No, it's very specific to, female
so it's
female colleagues.
more targeted towards females. And tell
Yes.
me, in terms of I want to say the culprits, is it mainly males, or do you actually find sometimes it's actually female leaders that is being so insensitive as well?
Yeah. Okay, in my case, I think it's mainly males because we are very few females, so it's mainly males.
That's part of the problem there again, underrepresented. And Sandika, on your side, have you ever experienced a level of insensitivity from other women?
Yeah, I have. So I'm also noticing that there's a difference between Deirdre's experiences and my experiences. I think also because of our age gap. You can see like now, for example, nobody really tells you to clean up anymore. Or at least they don't tell me to clean up. But in terms of the insensitivity, yes, you do get it from women too, particularly women that have had it hard, that have had it tough. They will tell you, well, I came back from maternity leave and I stopped breastfeeding my kids, so you can too. I came back from maternity leave and I left my baby and I went off to Nigeria for 2 weeks, so you can too. So I think that there is a little, I mean, of course, the women, a generation before us had it a lot harder and they paved the way for us. They made my life a lot easier. Now I'm trying to do that for the next generation. I think it's just, we're just trying to equalize everything. But it becomes a lot difficult when women who have had it tough, instead of trying to make it easier for us, say, well, I've gone through it too, so can you.
No, thank you for sharing. So Sandika and Deirdre, obviously the one thing that I would like to get out of this session is practical steps that we can do, something that we can start doing tomorrow to make things better, to be better. All right. So share with us two or three things you think that, tomorrow when we go into the workplace, we start modifying behaviors in a specific way. Yeah, there is an echo. Let's see. Is it still there? Okay, it's on your side, Deirdre. I just muted you. The echo disappeared. So maybe just have a look. Okay. So yeah, maybe Sandika, on your end, could you maybe share with us two or three practical things you think we could start doing deliberately in a different way to be a bit more inclusive?
Yeah, I think the one thing is that we're having these conversations more and more, and you get people that are speaking out about it. And I think it's important to listen. So very often, if we're not in that phase of our lives, or if we don't understand it, we're not necessarily listening if it doesn't impact us. I think listen and take it in, and try to see where you can be better, because there's even sometimes there's even comments like in the workplace, there'll be jokes, there'll be men making jokes about women, women being moody or women nagging, or the things that Deirdre had mentioned before. They think these are jokes and they laugh it off because you're able to make these jokes at home, but it's not appropriate, right? So it's about, I think, checking yourself, and maybe even sometimes asking, is it inappropriate if I do this? I've had men say things like, is it inappropriate if I say you look good today? And of course I think really, I mean that's not inappropriate, but it means that someone's asking and some people are checking in on themselves, right? And by doing that, we become a bit more conscious and we make changes, small changes. The next is also to listen, and I think be attentive towards the people around you, especially when we have so few women in the cyberspace. If you feel like like someone looks like they're uncomfortable, try to find out why. If someone doesn't speak in a meeting, try to find out why. There's so many issues that impact us in terms of, sometimes we get overlooked. We're saying something and it seems like nobody's listening to us until someone else says the exact same thing, but all of a sudden they're heard. And generally they're heard because they're a man. If you're a man and you see that, or even if you're, like amplify that woman's voice. If you're a woman and you see that, amplify that woman's voice. So I think I'm picking up on a lot of these, I think, little things, even things like if you see that somebody can't make it, like a woman can't make it to an event after work, try to find out why that is. And, very often there could be an easy fix, like the example that I mentioned about that 8:30 check-ins that we would have. The easy fix is to start those check-ins at 9 o'clock. Right, that's the easy, but it's very difficult for someone to ask, especially if you, if you're new to the team or something. There's a lot of things that may hold someone back from asking. But if instead of just relying solely on the person or on the individual, let's see how we can support the individuals around us. And this is not primarily related just to women. Right? I mean, this could be related to anyone who has any different circumstances. So when we talk about creating like diverse teams, we're talking about taking into account everybody's unique circumstances and making sure that we have a place that everyone can fit into.
Thank you so much for sharing that insights and experiences with us, Sandika. Deidre, on your side, any practical things that you could impart on us, one thing you'd like for your colleagues to start doing differently or be a bit more mindful of going forward?
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, we have so many communication channels, that we can make use of. So we're all on WhatsApp, Microsoft Teams, and we have, polls that we can do. And I think we must really start just using that. So if it is a team building, just set up a little poll and give options and, see what's best for everyone. So I think that is very practical. It can be implemented like, tomorrow. It's not something that we even have to think about. So, and also what Sandika was saying, it's just like being mindful of what you are saying before just, saying something. So I think, and it's both for I think for the woman and male in the workplace, and consider each other. So, and I also think make use of, like, we have an employee wellness program. So part of our teams, I mean, so maybe part of the operational meetings, or some of the meetings that we have about people management, bring in employee wellness programs where they can maybe speak about like topics like this, for example, because I mean those people, they are trained to actually do it, and it's not a new topic, and I think that will also just add value. Take maybe once a month you invite employee wellness into your directorate or into your department. And maybe the other thing is also, and I think also what Sandika was saying, but for me it's important, that relationship building. So once you kind of get to know someone, you will understand, the circumstances around the person. And I think then it will build trust as well. So, and if colleagues trust each other, you will feel almost, you will feel more confident to speak out, because I think also a lot of time in the boardroom, it is, a whole lot of males. You don't want to be the only person, raising these issues, and it's only your issue. So definitely, I think it's about networking. It's about, yes, we can't always make it after hours, but I mean, kind of need to balance it with, sacrifice. Sometimes you can't, sometimes you can. You need to, think about that. So, but all in all, we actually need each other. We need to network. We need to build that relationship, to build trust between colleagues. And then I think if we have that open relationship, I think, then it will be easier to listen. Then they won't see it as nag. They will actually then, I think, take you more seriously, because they know that, you are work oriented and you have a goal to reach. Yeah, so those are just few of the things I think, Grant, that I wanted to mention.
No, thank you. Thank you, Deidre. So I think I'm going to ask the last question now to you and Sandika, and then I would like for some participation from those who have joined for questions, comments, experiences to be shared. So maybe Sandika, in closing, maybe just on this topic as a whole, give us your closing comments and your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think one of the things is, like, if you find that you're one of those people that have not been aware of the challenges that women face, you don't have to feel bad about it. I think that sometimes you only know these things when your eyes are opened to it. There was actually somebody that was on the call, and she dropped off earlier, and we worked together, and she became a mother about, I think, like 5 to 10 years before I did. And I don't think I fully understood some of the challenges that she went through, when her kid was sick and she had to work from home, and then, the pressures from managers that would, make it a bit uncomfortable when those situations arise. I think that sometimes you only really understand it when you're actually in the position yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's just about having these conversations early enough so that we get to understand it and maybe change our mindset before that happens. So I think that I think that's what I wanted to say. Don't feel bad if it affects you. The other thing is that this affects men as well, particularly fathers. When women say they have challenges of, like, having to stay at home because the kids are sick, that's sometimes because it's the easier option. It's the more understandable option. It's easier for me to tell my boss, my kid's sick. It's understandable. I remember when my husband had to tell his boss that the kid's sick and he has to stay at home with him, and his boss said, "Where's your wife?" And that's not a unique experience that was just to him. So I think I wanted to mention that it's so multifaceted. It doesn't just affect the women, but it affects men as well. And if men can't say, "Look, I have these priorities as well. I have these responsibilities," and to make it more normal, then their partners, female partners, will always be the ones that have to bear that brunt when it comes to parenthood. And then the last thing I want to say is, where we can, just tell women to just be themselves. And who cares if someone's going to tell you that you're too passionate, or you're too emotional, or whatever. Just be yourself. You know what? We all bring ourselves in, and we all show up in different ways. So forget about it if someone tells you you're being emotional. Just sometimes that is why you're here. Actually, that's probably why you are hired. You are hired because you have that passion to get the job done, and the drive, to actually succeed in it. So just be yourself. You don't have to try to emulate anyone else. You don't have to try to put on a different persona, or try to hide away certain parts of your personality. Bring your entire self. And when we talk about inclusivity, we talk about everyone, not a particular mold. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you so much for that, Sandika. Quite powerful words. Deidre, closing comments on your end before we open up to the floor.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I want to start off by saying we are unique. I think women are unique, and we must bring that unique strengths that we have. We must bring that into the workplace and not be shameful about it. So the fact that you're speaking about feelings doesn't make you weak, for example. Although sometimes you get, that is the perception. But I think show up as somebody that's confident. And I think we also need to just kind of step up and, and confidently and boldly, almost direct, speak up in meetings, so things that bother us and so on. So I think that is the one thing. The other one is we need to validate each other. So and not work against each other, because I think with all these challenges that women faces, we need to kind of stand together and also just validate and acknowledge each other in the workplace, because I think then that's the only way change will happen. So also just want to mention, so as I said, my daughter, she's 24 years old and she just started working since the last year, I think, or the year before. And you know, when she came home, and she's a software developer, when she came home, she actually and she started complaining like, Mom, you know what? I'm actually the only one. We only 3 developers out of a team of 20. And just the issues that she brought home every day was this, it's exactly the same things that I faced when I started in IT. And that is the reason why I also started mentoring, because I thought that, you know what, things actually did not change, and we cannot, and that's what I'm saying, as a community of women, we need to stand together and speak about these things. So yeah, so I think in closing, that is definitely it, that let's fight this, not fight together, but let's influence, make a positive influence together in the workplace.
Thank you, Deirdre. Quite sad that the issues you faced many years ago and your daughter's now facing the same issues entering. It means not a lot of progress has been made, right?
Mm.
And I think there's work to be done. And as the ISC2 Cape Town chapter cybersecurity community, like by the community for the community, it is an issue on our agenda. So we will do our bit. I doubt we'll be able to solve it for the world, but we will do what we can with the resources at our disposal. So I'll open up to the floor now. What I'll do is I'll just quickly go through the comments to see if there's anything in there. So Roxanne is saying most common tasks assigned to women is take minutes, and I've observed, I've seen that, and yet I started earlier by saying I've never seen women being treated badly or unfairly. So something for me to take in. It's subtle. It's subtle. I almost want to say it's systemic, but now we know. Next time, that the man can take the minutes. I am proud to say that where I work now, minutes is a rotating task. So every man come, it's a different person on the team that does the minutes, and nobody enjoys it. So thank you for that. And then leadership usually wants the most from a woman with the least amount of motherly duties. Now, I met somebody at an event not long ago that said the same thing. She said that she works with a bunch of ladies, and they are all family ladies, married. She's single, she lives alone, she's got no kids. And whenever there's a need for something to be done after hours, she's the automatic candidate, which also isn't fair. So maybe there's people on the call who can share some stories around that. And then Sandra, you make a very valid point, and the legend himself just joined that. So Bernard is actually a single dad. At least he's single parent here in Cape Town, and he looks after his boys. And maybe he can also share some of the challenges he faces in terms of that regard. So on this note, I'm going to open up. If you want to come off mute, share your stories, questions, comments. Maybe just put up your hand, and then we'll do it in a controlled manner.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, you can go, my friend.
So okay. Thanks for that, Grant. Maybe I'll just give a little bit of feedback from my perspective. Look, it one of the biggest struggles I had at work was the fact that all of the places I worked, the bosses never understood why I couldn't have somebody go pick up the offspring. So wait, why isn't your wife picking up the offspring? Why isn't your wife doing the drop off and pickup? So it became something that I had to actually mention in interviews and in discussions to say, listen, I have 2 offsprings. I need to go pick them up. I need to go drop them off. I unfortunately am not available from this time until after bedtime, etc., etc. It was something that I had to sort of embed in every single conversation that I had with every single new recruiter. But that also, for me, that also gave me a lot of perspective with my team members, especially my team members who also had families. So that's a little bit of my background around that. And the other thing that I had said, I think I said this to Sandika on one of her posts on LinkedIn, and I said, maybe we need to be a little bit tougher. Maybe we need to now approach this from a different perspective and say, if there are businesses that are not promoting genius skilled women, I mean, I saw there was a report out on LinkedIn from Women in Cyber that was speaking around that we have the best skills from our cybersecurity ladies in Africa etc., in comparison with around the world. So maybe it's actually a matter of we need to start bringing these things up. Maybe we do need to now ask HR, how come I'm only getting male candidates for this position? I remember once bringing it up from a budgetary perspective when I was a CISO once at some place, and I said, I don't understand why there needs to be a discrepancy in my salaries for the exact same position, for the exact same role for two different people, because one is male and one is female. And that was something that I managed to beat, but it was very localized. And I know that that's not the case everywhere else. And that's the background I wanted to give. I don't know. Sandika, you look like you have a question.
Thank you for sharing, Bernard. Anybody else that want to share or comment or just maybe share an experience? Roxanne?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so just a little background. My husband and I work in the almost the same field in cybersecurity, different specializing fields, him in forensics and myself in GRC. And often we find ourselves in the same meetings with the same clients. And it's so strange. I'm the facilitator of the meeting. I'm the SME in regards to GRC, but they look towards my husband for advice. All their questions will be focused towards him, and then he looks towards me for answers. So often my technical abilities or my expertise comes into question. And it's actually it's actually causes such self-doubt. So the negative effect from that would be this internalization of all these biases. And then it leads, I don't know if you guys are like this or the ladies out there, but we generally are overthinkers. We analyze things. And when this happens, I internalize everything that happens, and it leads to self-doubt. And it leads to my confidence levels being knocked down, and I always feel like I have to justify all the time, this is why I'm here. I don't see it so often with the male population or in cybersecurity, where they have to prove why they're there. They're just there. But when I'm sitting in meetings, I have to prove my worth. And I find it very demotivating. I am working on that though. I stopped doubting myself in terms where I've got mentors in the industry. Grant, you're one of them. You inspire me. Nadia is one of them also. And it's be content with yourself, know your worth, and stop doubting yourself. It takes a while to do that though. It takes a lot of motivation internally to do that, because we are highly critical of ourselves. I know I don't want to make it a male female thing, but with women we are highly critical. We are like perfectionists. We set very high standards for ourselves, and I think that's sometimes to the detriment of our own well-being and mental health. I mean, I just wanted to put that out there. That's the challenges that I face right now.
Thank you so much for sharing, Roxanne. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to contribute? I saw some comments there. So, Roxanne, I don't know if you want to maybe come off mute and maybe share some of your thoughts.
Is that another Roxanne or me?
No, I think that's another one. That's Roxy R.
Hi
Okay.
everyone. I actually
Hey,
posted a
hey, Roxy.
comment, but okay. Yeah, I just wonder sometimes the path to CISO or any position of leadership and strategic development, if I have to choose between being a mom and that role, at this moment, it doesn't feel attainable because, as the other Roxanne has said, you have to prove your worth in every meeting, on every project. Technically, or there's a lot of second guessing that might not be as forthcoming in, or maybe it's just not, it doesn't feel like the male counterpart is going through the same sort of process. Like, I have to prove myself in this meeting, make sure I've got all my ducks in a row, don't forget the minutes, don't forget the documentation, don't forget to pick up the coffee. Like, it's just, I wonder if there will be a time where it will be okay to be a mom and to also be wanting to be a CISO or someone in a strategic security role.
No, thanks for sharing, Roxy. And I think, I certainly hope there will be a time where the workplace this naturally becomes more inclusive. And I'll share with you a story, and maybe it's not something to be proud of, but it's the way, I don't know, it's the way we've been wired. I was on a technical session with one of the big vendors recently, and we were meant to solve a technical issue, and the lady joined the call, and deep down I was waiting for the male to join the call, waiting for the guy to come, the technical expert to come, but it was the lady. And shame on me for just expecting it to be a guy. And I don't know if it's an historic thing where IT was a man thing, but I've identified that unconscious bias, and now I check myself occasionally to say, it can be a female, or it can be a man or woman, or whatever the case is. So yeah, I think it's unconscious biases we need to work with, and I do believe shining the light on it is the first step. Creating the awareness that we need to be more sensitive is the way it's going to start. Bernard, and then Sandika.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Look,
yes, we can.
Okay. I don't mean to be overly emotional. Roxy R, listen, do not be told nonsense by these people. That is nonsense, my friend. If we cannot be going through these things. You can be CISO, you shall be a CISO. We will help you out. However, whichever way you need to be helped. There's no such thing as being automatically disqualified in 2024. Makes absolutely no sense. And I'm very I'm sorry. I just feel like it's not right. I have all of my mentees except one are all female. It wasn't by choice. I didn't go out there looking for them. These people came by themselves. They were motivated. They were driven. They were ambitious. They are ambitious. 3 of them are CISOs now. They're the best people in the world. And I learn every single day from them. I was picked up. I don't know if you guys saw Grant's message about Ronaldo on LinkedIn today, but the person who saved my life and brought me into cyber, who brought me into IT, was my female boss. Her name was Sisa. She was the best in the world. She still is today. I still send her a message every once in a while to tell her, look, I'm doing something else amazing. This is 22 years later. Guys, no, if we're not helping each other as a community to stop this, because it's not just one person, it's us helping each other. We have to be aware. We need to be self-aware of the unconscious bias, and we need to start doing something about it. You can't walk into a meeting room, sit down, and then if it's an all-female board and you say, oh, when are the guys coming? It's in your head. We've got to change. Oh man, sorry guys.
No, thank you, Bernard. I sense the emotion. Thank you so much, sir. Sandika, you've got a comment or a question?
No, same thing. I wanted to talk about the exact same thing Roxy mentioned, because it sounds like defeat when she speaks, and it feels like defeat all the time. I can tell you that every single day. It is hard being the only woman in the room. But can I tell you something? I am damn good at what I do. Whether the men will accept that or not, based on their biases, I'm good at what I do. And I think we need to believe in ourselves, and we need to challenge the system. We need to if somebody says, I remember once actually listening to a story about somebody who started her career in the 90s. And she told me, a Black woman told me, that she would be afraid to make tea for herself because she thought that it would make her look like the tea lady. you know, being a Black woman in the early 90s, it would make her look like the tea lady instead of the board member that she actually is. Now, those are the things we need to challenge, right? And what would she do instead? She would sit down. She would not go and get tea. When a man would get up, she would, you know, make a remark to say, don't you think this would be a great opportunity for a male colleague to make his female colleague tea? You know, that there's ways around it. I think there's ways to challenge it. And we support each other, right? We rely on each other. And I think that we need to support each other, learn from each other, and we will get there. Don't worry, Roxy. This is not the end of the road. We'll keep calling it out, and we will succeed.
Thank you, Sandika. And Sandika, the one thing I want to say or add or maybe request is when we do call it out, let us call it out with an element of education. So share the experience and share a way we can be better, because then I think it's constructive. All right. And I think to everybody on the call, when we do see it, let's correct it and educate, and then everybody walks away a little bit wiser and a little bit, you know, in a position to do better. Amanda, on your side?
Yes, thank you. I think I accidentally joined this group tonight for a purpose and a reason. Thank you for sharing. I actually run a user group with IT companies, and there's many people like you that join us for events. But what strikes me is that so many people actually have the same problems across industry and don't feel alone. I think a lot of people actually don't talk about what they're going through. And this is actually one of the most important things, is to be heard and for people to actually understand that you are having issues. And for other women to actually join in the conversation. So thanks for this tonight. It's been really enlightening.
No, thank you so much, Samantha. I'm glad that you accidentally found your way onto this call. We appreciate having you here. Anyone else want to share an experience, or maybe just something that you think we should do to be better? Anyone? Leslie.
Hi, yes. I also found my way to this group accidentally. I think I need to find the group in Gauteng, but thank you very much for setting this up. It's interesting how you shared that you were waiting for a gentleman to join the call. Me being on the other side, I also have a name that comes across as male as well. So I've been in the IT industry for 20 years. And I found that I've always had to prove myself, and it would take maybe 5 or 10 minutes into a meeting or into an exercise or task before the guys around me would realize that I actually do know what I'm doing. But thank you for setting this up.
No, you're most welcome. For those who accidentally found us tonight, I'm going to post a link in here. We are the IAC2 Cape Town chapter, a not-for-profit movement in Cape Town that is open to anyone. So we do these things with the intention to educate, and there's no commercial element. It's just to create awareness, to inspire. Most of the time it's technical topics, but tonight we're targeting something that needs to be discussed. So I'm just posting the link there because we've got a lot of people that accidentally found us tonight. Okay, and then we've got a comment there, Wafika. To see, you can also just come off mute if you want to maybe just share with us, Wafika. Thanks for sharing. Let me just see if there's any other hands up. Okay, no worries. Okay, so yeah, I think let's just do another round check on the calls. Anybody else want to share? I do wanna say a special thanks to all the men that has joined the call this evening. I spoke to somebody early in the week. I said to him, "We've got this webinar planned. You know, it's important that we are there." And he said to me, he's going to share the link with all the women in his team. So I said, no, that's not really for women. It's actually for us. So we need to be here. So I do wanna just say thank you to all the men who's taken the time out to join this call. Because, you know, it shows that we want to be better. It shows we want to be better. And I maybe also want to just call out one person, Eugene Smith. Eugene has joined every single webinar of the IAC2 chapter. to date. So thank you for that, Eugene. We appreciate you. Let's see if there's any hands up. No new hands. So maybe I think on that note, we can close it off. So maybe some final words from yourself, Sandika, and then from you, Deidre.
I see Leslie's hand is up.
I don't know if it's still from earlier. Leslie, is it a new hand?
Hi, I've already spoken. No, I need to take that down. Excuse me.
Okay, no worries. Let me see what Tracy's saying. Okay, now you're most welcome, Tracy. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you for your support as well. So yeah, let's do some closing remarks. We'll start with you, Deidre, and then we end off with Sandika. And at the end, we'll do another check if there's any final questions or comments or hands.
Yeah. Okay. So it was most interesting, and as I said, I think being in IT, not in cybersecurity, but in IT for all these years, I think the issues are still pretty much the same. But I do want to inspire, especially women, to actually stand up and to be confident and to make their voices heard. I also just want to maybe mention a story. So I've, 2 months ago, I went to Pretoria, and on our way back, just before we boarded, airport is busy, so I just went to the bathroom quickly. And as I went to the bathroom, I was like in a hurry, but the lady at the door, there was a lady standing at the entrance, and this lady was saying, and she's actually, she's she cleaned the bathrooms, and this was her words. Her words was, "Welcome to my office. It is sparkling clean just for you." So I couldn't believe actually went back to her afterwards and said, like, that is most amazing. You just hand the office is the bathroom, but she's taking pride in it. She's speaking out, and she shows up with sparkle, And I think that is also what we need to do. That is maybe the first step. And then I think nothing can kind of get us down. And so, and I think Roxanne was also saying we overthink things, but I think, think about things, but move on, and just put a plan in place to maybe to make it better the next time. So yeah, that's just my final remarks.
Thank you so much, Deidre. Sandika, any final thoughts or insights from yourself?
Yeah, just some advice, I think, particularly to women. It's have your goals. Let them be audacious goals. Let no one tell you that you can't achieve everything you want, whether it is being a mom, whether it is being a CISO. Have those goals, but at the same time, you're not alone. You are surrounded by a community. All you have to do is reach out to someone and ask. Reach out and ask them, how do you deal with these struggles that I am going through? And I can guarantee you, someone who you ask, who has experienced it, is going to tell you everything that they did to try and figure out that problem, so that you don't have to deal with the same mistakes that they made. They'll give you the answer. They'll give you the solution. There's a lot of things that we didn't know when we started our careers, like how to navigate corporate politics. Some of the issues that we have, we think we struggle being in a room full of men, but it's not just that. It's there's smarter ways to position yourself. You don't have to rely on just hard work alone. How do you brand yourself? How do you make yourself known? How do you make sure that you are seen in the way that you want to be seen? And I think I'm saying you don't have to do this alone, right? Have your goals and reach out for help. The community is there to help.
Thank you so much, Sandika. And yeah, we on the hour. We'll close it over there. I just want to express a sincere thank you to Deidre and Sandika for being here, but also to everybody who took time out to join us. Thank you so much. We will upload this video onto our YouTube channel. All previous webinars are there, so you're welcome to have a look. Please follow our LinkedIn page. We post all things cybersecurity, Cape Town and beyond on that page. It's the one place where you'll find all the information. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. And if you are traveling, travel safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.